Well, working out here, you couldn't ask for a better place to work. It's pretty hard to have a bad day. But ranching is a tough way to make a living. I mean, we all make a living. I can't say as we make any money, but our reward is to be able to work in a landscape like this. Economically, with the expense of equipment, of fuel, of wages, of taxes, of you name it, it doesn't pan out, and lots of people are forced to have to sell out part or all, and the only time you make money is when you sell the ranch, you know. My husband, he was kind of looking at a few ways to keep the ranch going and not having to develop it. But then after he died, I was thinking of selling it. It was just kind of a, you know, a lot to think about.
My sister and I own this ranch, and it's a ranch that our grandparents homesteaded in the early part of the 1900s. Neither my sister nor myself had any children. And so we were getting to the age where we needed to decide what we wanted to do with this land. And what we did not want to see for the future for this ranch was a land subdivided and turned into housing and developed. And we are in a difficult situation in agriculture because the economy of agriculture does not keep up with the rate of inflation of the things that we need to produce our food. And how do we keep from going broke? And conservation easements, I believe, are a viable option for some families to continue ranching.
Conservation easements are incredibly important tool to use in not only preserving land available for ranching and agriculture, but also for the myriad of wildlife species that occur. We've got pronghorn antelope, moose, mule deer, elk, sage-grouse, and all the other sagebrush obligate species that depend on the sagebrush ecosystem for their well-being. And a lot of it's at threat, and so every time we can conserve any large, vast, intact chunk of land for these species, it's a win-win for wildlife and our population as a whole.
Our ranch does have wildlife value. We are in critical mule deer winter range, year-long range for moose, antelope. You know, there's sage-grouse on our lands, and actually there's several leks along that western face. And then when you get to the east over here, there are leks there as well. So our property is being used and has been used by sage-grouse since I can remember.
I can see them, I think, from one end of this place to the other at different times. I see most of the grouse when we're horseback because we're in the grasses, we're in the sagebrush. It's great habitat for the grouse.
Fragmentation is the #1 listing factor for the species and why we're considering it to be at risk.
To see all the development around here was an inspiration just to not do any major development on it.
So we created a conservation project, including the conservation easements, that would protect this landscape and protect it both for agriculture and wildlife.
With the help of my neighbor, Albert, it just kind of started snowballing, and it just became a project that I think is pretty extraordinary.
Between the two of us, we enrolled 19,000 acres, more or less, in a conservation easement.
What we did is allowed the birds to show us the habitats that were most important, and they did that by where you have the greatest density of sage-grouse, and then we were able to build from that the areas where we have the most opportunity to do the most good for the species. And you take this area in Sublette County, in the southern part of the county where we are, the northern part where Albert and Maggie are, and you can start to expand out from one effort to another. So now you have birds in Sublette County that can connect to birds in Fremont County. You have birds in Fremont County that can connect to birds in Natrona County, and it takes it to a statewide scale. Instead of trying to do things a little bit here, a little bit there, we can zero right in on the areas where we can have the most effect, the fastest, for probably the least amount of money.
The Summers Grindstone easement was just a monumental undertaking, 19,000 acres in one easement. We had to have many different partners along the way, funding partners, technical partners, just people to just put all the pieces together. And the Land Trust in the state of Wyoming are just an amazing partner to see those things through. And Sage-Grouse Initiative dollars coming through in the form of easements is really important in the western United States. Our agricultural producers throughout the nation produce the feed and fiber that we rely on, and anytime that we can help those people to make sound decisions to keep them in business is a decision well made.
Our family has always enjoyed wildlife, and we're very much advocates of the agriculture industry. And so we've seen this as an opportunity to preserve into the future ranching and wildlife.
I think the real comforting thought for me is that when I'm gone, this place will still stay a ranch and will still be a haven for wildlife and be protected.